HOA Karen called the cops on my ranch. Again. This time, she somehow convinced herself that just existing on my property was an offense. She pulled up in her shiny SUV, clipboard swinging, a smug smile plastered across her face like she was the queen of the universe. She had somehow convinced the HOA board that my property was a hazard to the community and that she was enforcing the law. The only problem? She had no idea I owned the entire land, every acre, every pond, every fence, every animal that wandered the fields. Karen strutted down the driveway like a conquering general, talking into her phone. Yes, I'm here. There's illegal structures and unapproved landscaping. And the owner? Well, we need the police for trespassing. She didn't notice the subtle flicker of movement behind the tall oaks. My son, the teen sheriff, had been quietly monitoring her approach. ATV parked in the shadows, hand resting on the radio. Ragnar, my K9 guardian, was nowhere in sight, yet I knew he was already calculating her trajectory. By the time she reached the main barn, Karen was practically humming a victory song. She swung open the door and gasped. Inside was a private workshop, filled with gadgets, surveillance monitors, security panels, and a fully operational drone fleet. The drones buzzed to life as if sensing an intruder. Karen screamed when one hovered inches from her face, projecting a bright spotlight. "Oh, that's just my ranch security system," I said calmly, walking down from the loft with a fishing rod in one hand and an iced tea in the other. Ragnar padded silently behind me, eyes locked on Karen. I'm here for HOA enforcement," she stammered, fumbling with her clipboard as the drones circled. I leaned casually on the workbench. "You mean enforcing imaginary HOA rules on land that I own?" Her face went pale. She opened her mouth, then shut it again. She backed toward the barn door, and that's when I let the bulls out. Yes, bulls. My private, massive, heritage breed bulls that had been trained to roam freely across the pasture. The moment they lumbered into view, Karen froze. The bulls sniffed the air, snorted, and began marching toward the barn with slow, deliberate authority. Ragnar barked once. A low, commanding bark that made the drones beep nervously. Karen panicked. She turned to run, only to realize she was trapped in a dead-end barn aisle. She waved her hands frantically, muttering, You can't do this. HOA rules." The bulls stopped a few feet away, sniffing her shoes. She tried to calm them by crouching, holding out her hands. And that's when my son finally appeared on his ATV, lights flashing. He radioed the county sheriff, who arrived minutes later just to witness the spectacle. Karen, flailing like a fish out of water, surrounded by a dozen massive bulls, a K9 guardian, and drones projecting laser patterns across the barn. "Ma'am," my son said calmly, "I suggest you surrender peacefully. You're trespassing on private property, and the bulls are not impressed with HOA documentation." Karen screamed and tried to run through the barn doors, but the bulls blocked the exit. Ragnar nudged her gently with a paw, and she fell into a haystack. Drones buzzed overhead, projecting a spotlight right on her, and I finally stepped forward. "Karen," I said slowly, "you've officially exceeded the maximum allowable stupidity for one day. I'd arrest you myself, but lucky for you, the county sheriff is already here." The sheriff, watching the entire chaos unfold, laughed so hard he almost fell off his cruiser. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to calm down and maybe take a few classes on property law." Karen was cited for trespassing, harassment, false 911 calls, and endangering wildlife. She tried to argue, but her shoes were now covered in mud, her clipboard ruined, and her SUV was blocked by one of the bulls who had casually wandered outside. By sunset, I posted a large sign at the barn entrance. All property violations handled by bulls, dogs, drones, and sarcasm. Trespassers will be humiliated. The story spread through the HOA like wildfire. Neighbors were still sending me screenshots of Karen's meltdown, each one more humiliating than the last. She tried to appeal, send letters, and file complaints, but each attempt only reminded her of the day she faced the full wrath of my ranch. I sat on the porch that evening, Ragnar at my feet, the bulls grazing peacefully in the distance, sipping my iced tea. Karen was out there somewhere, muttering about HOA bylaws that didn't apply, while I enjoyed my complete victory. The entire neighborhood had learned an important lesson. Never, ever underestimate a ranch owner who actually owns the land. And Ragnar? He got 3 steaks that night, while Karen got a lifetime of humiliation, chronic PTSD from bulls, and at least 10 new HOA fines.